All right, welcome. This is one of a series of videos I'm doing on World War II. This one deals with the Battle of Britain, which is an interesting battle. It's the only battle, it's the first battle to be fought and decided solely in the air. Germany had taken over all of Europe, and by the beginning of July of 1940, Germany invades Holland and Belgium, coming through here in May of 1940. It's all over by the middle of June. Quickly thereafter, Hitler turns his attention to the only Western European nation standing, which is the United Kingdom. So the Luftwaffe, which is represented here in the red dots, up and down, they had a number of bases on the continent, was squaring off against the Royal Air Force, or the RAF. The Germans wanted to invade. They had plans to come across at a variety of points. In order to do that, they needed to have air superiority over the English Channel. And in order to accomplish that, they needed to knock the RAF and force them at least north enough so they couldn't cover the channel. And that's what the Battle of Britain was all about. And as Churchill put it, the Battle of France is over and the Battle of Britain's about to begin. So again, in order to invade, they had a control over the air. It's all about air power. Otherwise, the RAF would be able to destroy the German Navy as it was coming across. So this was, again, purely an air battle, the Battle of Britain. Starts off in July. The Germans target the radar facilities along the coastline, all in here. The London is represented by this kind of yellow square, but they start off and they do a lot of damage to Britain's early warning system in the radar. The Stuka, which is the German dive bomber, was used. It's been used to great effect in the blitzkriegs of Poland and the Low Countries. However, the Stuka is very vulnerable to the air. The British had two very good airplanes, the Spitfire and the Hurricane, and they were vastly overmatched, the Stuka. So here's a picture of really the Supermarine Spitfire, beautiful airplane. The whole front of this is engine. That's the Merlin engine off one of their bombers. Built an airplane around it. Very maneuverable, very fast, not very survivable. It was filled with gas, so if you managed to hit it, they tended to catch on fire, and they were kind of difficult to bail out of. But it was a very good airplane. And this is the crown jewel of the Battle of Britain. They also fought with Hurricanes, which weren't quite as exciting, but another wonderful airplane. So the Germans came in, they started to meet some resistance, and they came up with the second phase starting in August of 1940, and they targeted the RAF airfields. And they wanted to destroy the airfields, and it worked. They were pounding the RAF airfields. They were taking losses. They built pressure up. They started massive raids again, and it was day and night, high and low level raids. These are Hurricanes, I believe. This is what the Hurricanes look like. So it was working. It was times were desperate. A lot of ground crews who were out in the open trying to repair craters from the bombing were getting killed. The fighter crews were going up and up. I mean, multiple times a day. People started to talk, hey, we need to pull the RAF north of the Thames. And the British government said, we can't do that. We can't do that. You have to suck it up, because if they go north of the Thames, the Nazis are going to invade, and if they manage to land a division or two in England, it's all over. So it was really close. Like I said, you got incredibly desperate. These are Hurricanes taken off from airfields. A lot of these were airfields. Literally, the runway was a field. It wasn't necessarily a beautiful tarmac like you have modern airports. To keep the pressure up, they started bombing at night. Night bombing is problematic. You don't necessarily know where you are. They did not have GPS. They had a couple different ways to navigate. You could have used dead reckoning, which is I know I'm going this one heading at this speed for a certain amount of time, so I should be in this spot on the map. The problem is that doesn't take into account air and wind, and could get blown off course. You can look by the stars, but anyway, it's difficult to find out where you are. The key to this whole thing, the major mistake, was that one day, one bombing crew bombed civilian targets in London. It was a complete mistake. Hitler had told them not to do that. They did not want to anger the civilians and get their resolve, but these guys made a mistake. And in response, the British immediately bombed Berlin, which was, again, was the Goering who was the head of the Luftwaffe, had told the German people that they will never be able to bomb Berlin. And then the British bomb Berlin. And in retaliation, Hitler bombs London, and they start going after it. And you have widespread bombing of cities and civilians. They did have a mass exodus of children. This was, it's been shown in a couple movies, most famously in the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Those children were moved out of the bombing during the Blitz. They call this whole time the Blitz. So the last stage here of the Battle of Britain, really September to October, they start going after the civilians. By going after the civilians, they're no longer bombing the airfields daily, and it gave the RAF an opportunity to rebuild and regain their strength. The poor civilians, though, the civilians, and they call this whole thing the Blitz, really had no recourse. They bomb raids would go off. They'd hide down in the tube. This is a picture of civilians living in the tube at night. It's dark, it's dank, it's rat infested. But that's the safest place to be. And they would come up, and their homes are gone, or big craters everywhere. That's what you did. This is the worst time for the British in World War II was during the Blitz, the second half of 1940. The United States was not in the war. Germany was basically unstoppable, and it looks like Britain's going to be overrun. Talked to a lot of people. They figured like that was really the most desperate times for them. You come out of the air raid, and this is what you see, just rubble. And the British, they just clean it up, and they just go on. And you see all kind. You can look up pictures on Google of the Blitz. But again, this change of the plan to focus more on the civilians was a major mistake. The RAF had a chance. They repaired. They also knew that the Luftwaffe was coming to London, so it's much easier to defend if you know where they're going to be. So they simply put the Hurricanes and Spitfires around London. When the Luftwaffe showed up, they shot them down. The Luftwaffe pilots must have had a heart attack because they were told that the RAF was gone, and suddenly they show up, and here comes the RAF, and really the Germans started taking a lot of losses. It's a picture of London burning with the Tower Bridge in the foreground, and you would see these things daily. London was bombed at one stretch for like a month and a half every night. It's a picture of a street afterwards. So they call this, again, living with the Blitz. And it really brought the war to the civilian front. However, British morale, you got to have a lot of respect for the British. This is a famous propaganda. It wasn't as famous at the time. It's been made more famous. To keep calm and carry on. In other words, just suck it up. Keep calm and suck it up, and just keep moving on. It's kind of the stiff upper lip. The British maintain the morale. Largely could be attributed to some of the speeches by Winston Churchill, and they did not give up and they did not surrender. And by the end of October, the Battle of Britain is petering out. Hitler has realized that they are no longer going to be able to invade. They realize they did not defeat the RAF. They are starting to take way too many losses in the day, so they really switched to bombing simply at night. And they caused a lot of damage, but it wasn't any strategic bombing. It was really kind of a vindictive bombing. We're going to get over to one of their cities, and we're just going to drop bombs wherever. But the Battle of Britain basically just petered out. It didn't end in one specific day. The Nazis gave up the idea of invading Great Britain, and they turned their attention to the east. And the British won, and thank God they did. But again, at a tremendous toll to the civilians. These children, there's their house. They come out, and it's what do you do? What do you do from here? This boy holding his stuffed animal again. This house is gone. So if you look at the Blitz of London, it really went on from September 1940 to May 41. Although the Nazis continued to bomb London throughout the war, it also hit towns other than London. And when it was all over, you're looking at 43,000 civilians were killed, half of those in London itself, and more than 1 million homes in London destroyed. But they won the Battle of Britain, and by doing so gave both the American and British an opportunity to stage an invasion, open up a second front to help the Russians out in Stalin, and that really spelled the doom of the Nazis in the long run.